Main event. We've been talking about this a while, but the Brooklyn fights, but still, it is what it is. Henry Cejudo, TJ Dillashaw. Everybody knows. If you're listening to this podcast right now, you know what happened last week. TJ got knocked out in around, not knocked out. He got stopped in about 30 seconds, of course. Cejudo was delighted. TJ was pissed off. TJ went backstage saying to everybody it was taken from him. He refuses to believe that he was beat of Henry Cejudo. Listen, I get it. It's horrible. It's heartbreaking. You go out there, you make all these sacrifices, you put your life on hold, you put yourself through this crazy exercising regime, you make all the sacrifices, you turn things down, you spend time away from your family, you're out of town, you're training, you're sore as hell, you push yourself to the limit. And you want to win, you want to succeed. This is the venture, the mission that you've gone on. And when you lose, it's hard, but you've got to accept it. You've got to accept it. He was fucking beaten. Simple as that. Could it have gone a little bit longer? I know that Dana White said, super fight, 2 champions of the world, 2 of the very best to do it. You should let it go longer. And that's a valid point. I do hear that. And I'm like, yeah, okay. But I think all that would have happened was TJ would have eaten 3 or 4 more shots. It didn't look to me like TJ was on the road to recovery, and Cejudo just looked so much better. He looked comfortable. He looked bigger. He looked composed, and he got off on him quick. And sometimes that's the luck of the draw. If the fight was to happen again now, maybe it would go different. Maybe it wouldn't. There's a very good possibility that it would. But unfortunately, the set of circumstances that happened on Saturday night was TJ Dillashaw got beat in 30 seconds, and you got to fucking own up to it.
Yeah, watching it at the time, I remember thinking this is an early stoppage, being like that. They should have let it go on a little more. I'm watching it again right now. I mean, it's hard to say. He wasn't out really. I mean, like he lost that exchange. It's hard. I'm not a referee. I'm not a professional. I'm not looking at it through that set of eyes. I'm just saying I've watched championship fights over and over and over again, and everyone brings up the example of Brock Lesnar versus Shane Carwin and the fucking beatdown that Shane Carwin put on Brock Lesnar in that first round, and nobody would have complained about. It wasn't Big John. It was Dan Miragliotta, I believe. Letting it go on. Nobody would have complained if he would have stopped that fight, but he let it go on, and Brock was able to come back and win. And I think that you want to see a definitive loser. And I mean, TJ is enough of an athlete for me to, looking at that, he didn't seem like he was out. He seemed like he was still springing around and jumping around. It wasn't like, what did you see to somebody like this? Because I'm watching it again right now, and he didn't seem like he's out. But do you see something that I don't see as a fan that could kind of counter that argument?
Yeah, for sure. Listen, of course you're right. And of course you can sit here and come up with circumstances and evidence of where fights in the past have been allowed to go longer. Okay? Of course, probably every single UFC event, there's a fight where people are like, whoa, referee, stop the fucking fight.
Get in there.
So there's so many examples, but there's also many examples where people go, shit, that was stopped a little bit early. You know what I mean? So there's good and bad on both sides. And it's a hard job for the referee, okay? The referee's job is fighters' safety. That's the main thing that they're there for. Fighters want to fight by definition. I always tell my referees before I go out there, don't stop this fight, motherfucker, okay? Don't worry about me. Worry about him. I'm good. And he's like, hey, I'll just do my job, right? And their job is to protect us from ourselves, just like we say cornermen's jobs are to protect fighters from themselves. Now, that fight in question, could it have gone longer? Yeah, sure. But what did we see? We saw TJ go down to the mat, I think on 3 separate occasions. The fight was 30 seconds long. He got dropped on 3 separate occasions, right? His eyes rolled back in the back of his head. That last punch, I think it was a left hook that put him down, was particularly nasty. And the way that he fell. And then Cejudo was carrying on, swarming on him with more pressure. Now, TJ is a tough motherfucker. There's a reason why he's the bantamweight champion, because he's super tough and he will continue. And he wasn't out cold. And anytime it's like that, yeah, there's discussion. There's an opportunity. There's a reason to maybe be pissed off. But when the referee steps in, because you get dropped 3 times in 30 seconds, there's no one to blame but yourself. because you shouldn't be fucking hitting the canvas 3 times in 30 seconds.
Yeah, the first one looked like a slip. The second one, it was almost like it felt like partially grappling, and then he started getting caught with like these shots. It's just it doesn't.
It wasn't an emphatic victory. It wasn't an emphatic stoppage. He didn't put an exclamation mark on it. He certainly left the question posed, was it an early stoppage? Of course. That was my initial reaction. I was like, oh, shit. That was quick. It was impressive, but maybe it was an early stoppage. Yeah, for sure. That narrative exists. Yeah. It does. Of course it does. We're all talking about it. We're talking about it now. But as a fighter, you've got to admit defeat.
Yeah.
You can't live in denial.
Well, you're playing by the rules.
That was taken. It was taken from me. It was taken from me. Well, it was taken from you because you were put on your ass 3 times, and the other guy was punching you in the face.
And would TJ have said it was taken from Henry had it been the exact same circumstances where it was a quote unquote early stoppage? He would have never been like, oh, well, hold on, let's reset, let's do this again because that was taken from Cejudo. The reality is, I don't think that the referee had any sort of bias. I think the referee. When you watch it in slow motion, the hook that actually dropped him the last time, he really caught him hard, right? And the referee's right there. Yeah. You hear the crack.
That was the reason the fight was stopped. It was that final shot.
Yeah, it was
all
nasty.
the others, it wasn't too bad. As you said, one of them was a bit of a slip, and the head kicks didn't really connect. But that final shot, that was.
Well, I think it was a combination of the referee watching the ground and pound because Cejudo had some nasty ground and pound in there, and TJ's looking like he's in trouble. He'd been dropped. He's on the ground. He gets up, then he gets cracked really hard. Before he even hit the ground, the referee was jumping in to stop it because that was like the icing on the cake, and he was like, fuck this. He's taking too much damage. I don't think the referee realized exactly that TJ was that tough and going to be right there because you see TJ rolls right towards Cejudo. It's not like he was like confused where he was and, curled up. He literally went right to go for Cejudo's leg. I don't think it's a bad stoppage. I think the referees are doing their job, and I think they're they have a 1 second difference to this guy's being called, either way they're saying this guy, they should take his job because it's an early stoppage and they're taking money out of these guys' pockets, or the next time when he doesn't stop it and this guy has fucking brain damage or can't fight ever again, now they're saying that he's responsible for hurting this guy. So I think it's better to err on the side of safety for the fighters and the longevity of the fighters than not. So I'm not going to say it's an early stoppage by the referee. I just think it's sort of unfortunate when you're watching a pay-per-view, you're there live, you see the crowd, you don't want it to sort of end that way. You want to see a finite, real ending, and it just felt a little bit premature.
Hey, 100%. 100% agree with everything you said. And as I say, I sympathize with TJ because it erred on the side of an early stoppage. Maybe it was an early stoppage, but I don't think it changed the outcome of the fight. Had the fight continued, he probably would have taken more damage and lost maybe another 10, 15 seconds later. But yeah, probably an early stoppage. And it does give TJ a grounds to be pissed off. Doesn't give him a ground to not accept any responsibility for losing the fight, And a good friend of mine is referee Mark Goddard, one of the best in the business. Maybe we should try and get Mark Goddard on here at some point. We'll give him a call and see what his opinion is. Go on, you were going to say something.
Well, I was going to say, and to be honest with you, TJ didn't lose his belt. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's annoying. Had TJ gone another 10, 15 seconds and been definitively stopped, I'd be going, TJ, you need to fucking melt that belt down and send it in a gift package to Cejudo because you don't deserve that belt. Now, in my mind, I'm going like, okay, well, it was sort of an early stoppage. I don't really have an issue with it. I'd like to see them fight again. And they set up a much bigger fight down the line between Cejudo and TJ Dillashaw because now it's like, holy shit, they've set up sort of a real rivalry there that they didn't have before. So, in the bigger picture, I think it'll be better for TJ in the long run.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually said to Cejudo, because he was saying after the fight, he said, listen, I'll let TJ fight me again at 125. And I said to him, and it seemed like I was pro Cejudo for saying this, but more of as a fan and more if I was Henry Cejudo, I said, no, you shouldn't do that. You should fight him at 135. And he said, why? I said, well, you gave him a chance to be champ by fighting him at 125. You beat him. Now let him give you a chance of being champ and fight him at 135. You know what I'm saying?
And nothing to lose.
Beyond, and nothing to exactly, and nothing to lose. But for me, the bigger thing that the bigger picture that this arises for me or brings to my attention is weight cutting in MMA. This is what caused TJ Dillashaw to lose that fight. And all week long, he was running around Brooklyn, looking in great shape. Obviously, you know, in the fight shape of his life. He was super ripped. He never had his shirt on all week. Shirt off, glasses on, Conor McGregor, eat your heart out all week. But, you know, and of course he's proud of himself. He's in the best shape of his life. But he was already in the best shape of his life at 135, if you know what I'm saying. He always looked like an outstanding athlete. He was always super ripped. And to lose another 10 pounds from that frame that was a very, very low body fat percentage, how do you think he's getting there? How do you think he's losing that extra 10 pounds? It's coming from muscle, for sure, and then also water weight. Of course, you're cutting weight, you're removing fluids from the body and around the brain, and it affects your ability to take a shot. And I think that is the biggest thing. In mixed martial arts, the performances are suffering, careers of length is being suffering, the fans' experience is suffering because fighters are running out of steam. So many things, and weight cutting needs to go. It needs to be outlawed. People die, and it's only a matter of time before more people start dying due to weight cuts. At 135, Dillashaw might not have got dropped. At 125, going through that weight cut, you know, he couldn't take the punches. And what do people do? What do people do in the UFC? They cut weight, and he cuts weight. Two people cut weight, and they go down and weigh in. Then they go back up to the same weight. They all might as well fight at the same fucking weight class that they walk around at.
It makes no sense. It's just this other element, which I understand. There's a weird, like, you know, I think the wrestlers really like it because it's sort of it's built into their foundation. It's like, you know, it's part of their process, and, you know, I guess it's an advantage for the wrestlers. The guys that aren't used to cutting weight throughout their high school and college careers. I mean, it's sort of a science and an art in itself. I think it would take a few months to figure itself out, to correct itself, you know. And I know, and this is one of the topics I know we want to talk about, is the possibility of Askren versus Khabib at 165, because I guess Askren's been calling out Khabib. But I think if they did shift those weight classes, which it's sort of been a rumor for a little while, I think that should be something that they do with the shift. If they made it 155, 165, 175, 185, and so on, I think that they should also make it so that you weigh in right before the fight or the day of the fight, where they completely cut out the weight cutting element. And it would be weird for the first few events. People would go, what is this? But it would just adjust. It would adjust very quickly, and everyone would be fighting in a much healthier way. And yeah, it is a bizarre old school element to the fight game that doesn't seem to make much sense.
Well, I mean, as you say, I mean, first of all, fighters should be fighting at their natural weight, you know, because it's dangerous. That's the main thing. It's dangerous. And we've been very lucky in mixed martial arts that fighters haven't passed away more. But as more and more people do this, there's more events, more fighters, techniques get better. It's a sad reality. It's a tough sport. People are going to pass away. And I think if people were competing at their natural weight, that would definitely, the risk would be massively minimized. And as you say, wrestlers, yeah, they've got the advantage. But now anybody that's involved in high-level MMA, they have a network around them that know how to cut weight. So everybody's cutting 20 fucking pounds to put it all back on again the next day. And the idea was initially that you're getting a weight and size advantage over your opponent, but you're not, because your opponents are doing the same thing. And if they're not doing the same thing, they're in a lower weight class. So the whole exercise is pointless. It absolutely makes no sense. But TJ lost that fight. Congratulations to Henry Cejudo. And
we want to see the rematch, though, right? It makes me want to see a rematch at 135. Good for Cejudo. Have him come up.
135.
Yeah.
135 for sure. 100%. It doesn't make sense. If the fights happened at 125, TJ didn't look good. Right now, I know if TJ was listening to this, he'd be like, "Fuck you, Bisping. What the hell is your problem?" I like TJ. I've got nothing against him, but the fact is, going down, you know, me making 185 wasn't easy for me. You know, making 125 obviously didn't work out for him. 135, we've seen him. He can take shots. He took Cody Garbrandt's best shots. He's incredible. He's one of the best fighters in the planet. I'm not taking anything away from him. That wasn't his night. I want to see the rematch at 135, and that's about all I've got to say on that, Lewis.
Yeah, and if TJ heard that, I don't think he would be upset, because you're saying if he fought him you're saying that weight cut was a major reason why you feel as if he lost that fight. So, yeah, it's a compliment if anything else.
In my humble opinion, I wasn't around him. I wasn't part of his team, but I'm just saying I know from experience when you make weight like that, it takes away from everything. Your ability to take a shot, your strength, just fucking everything. And let's get on with it. Greg Hardy, this was a big story of the night. And I've got some things to say about this, Lewis, but I'll let you lead the way. Give me the technical breakdown from the undefeated Luis J. Gomez.
Well, where can we start? Look, Greg Hardy looks great. Greg Hardy looks like a killer. He's definitely. How long has he been training MMA? 2-3 years.
Something like that. Yeah, not long.
I mean, but professional athlete obviously has been able to adapt his body to this. He looks like a killer. Nobody liked him coming in. You're talking about fanfare. He was getting booed by everybody, coming off like a villain. The way he kind of is carrying himself, he's really leaning into the bad guy thing, and especially it's weird because you have the whole thing with him, allegedly hitting his ex-wife, and you'd think that he would just try to put a little bit of a good guy image on himself, but he didn't give a fuck. I'm trying to remember because I was getting hammered. By that time, when you're live at a UFC event, I was drinking whiskey all night. I fell asleep on the subway home. I dangerously, on the way home from Brooklyn to Harlem, fell asleep.
Is that why you fucking just totally ignored my text and bailed on me? Because
my cell phone.
We were supposed to go and hang out afterwards, and you were nowhere to be seen. So, that explains it all, Lewis.